maybe this is something I should have said yesterday. Okay. We talk about the differences between Spain and other countries. So Spain's a Mediterranean country, a Latin country. Um, it's near the north of Africa. Um, Life here is very dependent on the weather. In the summer, definitely. It's got a really, really laid back lifestyle. Absolutely no surprise to see children out at midnight, half past midnight, in the smaller communities playing in the street whilst their parents are having a coffee or having a drink outside. Um, but um, the Spanish admire improvisation, absolutely admire it. Okay. And other countries don't, right? Other countries want things to have a very clear agenda, a very clear um, calendar and structure and timetable, and everything keeps to that. Okay. And the Spanish say, okay, they do have agendas and everything's worked out. And we know where we have to do, where we have to be, and we know what we have to be doing at a particular time and who with. However, they also admire the people who are able to just organize something off the cuff, okay? Whether it's a celebration or an activity, or what are we going to do now? You know, what are we've got 200 kids at a summer camp. What should we do with them? Oh, okay, let's think. You know, first of all, let's get them into a circle. That sounds like a good thing to do. What can we do next? And the next person says, well, why don't we get them the shortest ones over there and the tallest ones over there? That sounds good. Okay. And so the ideas start flowing, but, you know, literally as they've been, well, why don't we put them in alphabetical order? Okay. Right, so the kids have got to start asking each other's names and then put them in an alphabetical order, and so the activity starts kind of taking shape as we are there. And then we could put them. What about if we put them as if it was a human calendar? If your birthday was in January, you stand over there, and the next person, then they have to ask each other's birthdays. Amazing, you know, and people are really happy to work like this. All right. Um, this explains why, you know, you will have a school timetable and you will be told when you're meant to be in class and where you're meant to be when you're at school. But then it's very, very common to be given the timetable and then to be told, well, actually, although on Tuesday afternoons here it says you're going to be in the third year class, actually you've got no class on Tuesday afternoon. And you'll be asking yourself, well, why is it on the timetable? Okay, well, remember this. The Spanish love improvising, okay? Love spontaneity. Okay, so, you know, the joke is that, yeah, the joke is, I'm sorry about this, here we go. Some, you know, Swedish people, a Swedish company and a Spanish company decide we're going to have a business meeting. And we're going to have our business meeting. We'll have it in France. We'll go to Paris. That's a nice place. Okay, so the Swedish people are thinking, well, we need a meeting room, and what's the timetable, and how we will get to the hotel, and will we have a projector and pens and paper? And the Spanish people are thinking, I wonder what's near the hotel. Are there any good restaurants and bars? And what can we do after the meeting? Okay, this is absolutely the truth. And then the Swedish people say to the Spanish people, well, before we have the meeting, could you send us an agenda of what we're going to discuss? And the Spanish people would say, well, why do we need an agenda? That's why we're going to meet. Okay, if we had an agenda, we could just fill it in and send it and decide on something. So there's that kind of stuff. So the importance we're saying there for the Spanish people is being together. Okay, is just as important, the social aspect, as anything else. Right. We're going to talk about schools. I don't want to underestimate actually, because schools actually are very well organized in Spain. And this is the really important thing, um, that okay, your schools are all going to be permanent facilities. Okay. Don't come thinking you're going to be in some rural backwater where you don't have a real building, and you're going to be in kind of makeshift huts or temporary buildings. That would happen. It does happen in one of our programs in Ghana. It is a lovely program. If you want that, then do that after you've been to Spain. But in Spain, everything, and like I said yesterday, everything is registered. Everything has been checked for health and security. It meets all the standards, and they are all recognized teaching centers by the regional ministry. Okay, so they're going to be all, with the central heating and good lighting and internet connection and all these other things which you would expect from a normal school. Now, if you've got any questions about schools, put them in at the end. We're going to try and cut this down. Hopefully we'll be finished by 1:15. So that's 1 hour from now. I don't want to keep you too long. But just remember, our agreement with the schools is what is being offered. What the schools are offering you is a host family or other accommodation with meals, of course, placement, which means a place to go and what to do when you're there, a timetable, Spanish, they will help you with your Spanish. They will assign a tutor. They will give you local information. Where's the bus stop? Where's the train station, etc. Goodwill. That's really important, okay? The goodwill part is the really important part. So it's not just saying, well, the station's over there. The goodwill comes as, oh, I will go with you, or somebody will go with you to buy, okay, to buy the ticket. Right. Okay. What you are offering as a volunteer is 16 to 18 hours a week, face to face with class, in class. Okay. You're offering ideas, and you're offering your language. You are sharing your language and your culture and your heritage at school. More ideas, fair enough, and absolutely goodwill, engagement. Now, that engagement and that proactive attitude means how you are interacting with the students, how you are interacting with the other teachers, and how you are interacting with the families of those students. Now, if you want to earn any kind of extra income, like getting some tuition, you need to be the person who's out there with the kids as they leave school. Bye bye, Simone, and bye bye, Natalia, and bye bye, whatever. Oh, that's the teacher. That's the person you were talking about who's going to be in our community for the next few months. That's the person we're going to contact. Okay. So that's really important. And one of the things we don't want to do, we don't want to be a clock watcher. We don't want to be going, well, I've already been here for 16 hours, and wow, and now they're talking about a singing competition where I don't have to stay. So I'm sorry, guys, I'm leaving, after the first song. My time's up, you know. You need to be flexible. You need to be flexible and know um, that there's this Spanish thing about knowing when things begin, and sometimes you don't know where things are going to end exactly. You need to go with the flow, and you need to start adapting to the Spanish way of doing things. All right. But that goodwill is really important. I mean, literally, we had a situation where a volunteer who at the family home, as you know, at the family home, you are expected to provide 5 hours a week of tuition or helping the children at home with their English. And somebody said, the volunteer said, oh no, I've already done extra hours at school this week, so I'm only going to give you 2 hours. And she said this, to the child at home, the host family daughter, who was completely puzzled, then came back to her mum and said, yeah, she said she can't be with me. She doesn't want to stay with me because she's already done too many hours a week. It was, you know, that didn't fit in very well, didn't sound very well. The family weren't very happy. Okay, flexibility. All right. There we go. Why did you choose a school? Let me put you together. I'm going to give you a couple of, and put you into two groups so you can talk, okay? But with a few questions here to think about. Why did you choose this kind of placement, please? Why did you choose this kind of placement, which is an educational situation, okay? Why did you do that? All right? I want you to talk about, and then also to discuss, about your school, where your most recent school, which might be where you're working or might be where you last studied. Okay. What was good about it? What made it a good place to study? Okay. And then think, what is it that schools want from you? What do they expect from you? So I'm just going to create the two rooms. Okay, so we're going to assign, okay, Josie and David and Juliet and Clara and Mel and Clara. That's brilliant. You can go into one. All right, good. And in the second school, it's going to be Nav and Philomela and Samantha and Simon and Sophia. Okay, right. So when you get the invite, go to your rooms and discuss this. Why is it you've decided you want to be in this teaching setting, an educational setting? What makes a good school for you? Okay, what makes a school a good place? And finally, what are the schools expecting from you? Okay, just we need to discuss this a little bit from your own experiences. So you're welcome to join in with your schools right now. Okay, with your colleagues. I'm sorry. When you see.
were the teachers and other people. The teachers were really open-minded, and it was really nice talking to them and just I don't know, being in their classes.
And is that everyone?
I don't know
Um,
what to say. So yeah.
what do you think the schools are expecting from us?
Simon, tell us, what do you think they're expecting from you?
Uh, yeah, maybe just what's good for the students. I mean, if they need help, even outside of class, to help them, or we're younger than most teachers, so if they need anybody to talk to, that's not a student, but also not like a teacher, maybe to also talk to them on a like different level, yeah, and help them out.
Okay, so you're all back. That sounds good. Okay, that's fair enough. All right. I mean, that's great. Obviously, now um, let's have it just have a little look at this. Some of those questions there. I'm a little bit disappointed to go into a room we're talking about schools and hear somebody saying, "I don't know." You know, you really need to think about this because you're going to be in a classroom situation in charge of kids looking at, being with a teacher who's planned a lesson, and you're going to have to be kind of on the game, on the ball. Okay. So, anyway, I hope you've getting some ideas off each other. I've asked you all these things at interview, of course, why would you prefer to be at a school, but what do they want from you? They want a lively, engaged, enthusiastic person, okay, who is open. We have this expression in English, the lights are on. and there's nobody home. The lights are on, but there's nobody home. What does this mean? What does it mean, Nav?
I don't know how to explain. Maybe David can.
David, what's the meaning? The lights are on, but nobody's home.
So like basically you're awake, like you can see your eyes move, but like inside, bro, you're gone. You're like out of it. You're not paying attention at all. You yeah, you're just along for the ride kind of thing. You're not really in it to win it.
That's it. That's it. So, you know, we have this beautiful, I'm going to send this little thing to you in um, um, this idea. Okay. So the lights are on, there's nobody home, which means you're there physically and people know you're awake. But, you know, when they approach you, there's no reaction, you know? So that's what we mean. When you're engaged at the school, when you're with the students, when you're with the teachers and so on, they want your total undivided attention. Okay, that is 100%. You look for this, the total undivided attention on what you're doing at a particular time. Okay, if you've got a problem with your host family because there's no hot water, I don't know why they got no hot water on a particular day. Don't take that problem to school with you. Leave that problem at home. Okay? Talk about it at the correct time. But don't be sending messages about the hot water when you're meant to be in class. This is very, very important. This is managing your time, managing priorities. Okay? Your priorities. And why? Because, well, this is your job whilst you're here. Okay, this is not something which you're doing, you know, well, you know, what I'm really here to do is learn Spanish or enjoy the weather or, you know, try food or go hiking, you know, and so I'll do this because it gives me the chance to be in Spain. No, this is your job, all right? And they will notice this, and you will notice this when you really get into this. And many of you, I know all of you have done voluntary work or paid work, and you know the feeling and you know what this means. Okay. So that's the first thing to tell you. This is your main occupation. And whether afterwards, outside of school, you join a rugby team or you join a hockey team or a basketball team, that's fine. But your main occupation is what you're doing at school, okay? And in order, I'll give you this again, in red, these are things to start off with. In red, don't ever use your phone in class. We said this the other day, we'll say it again today. This is a massive problem in schools in Spain. A few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there was this great idea that instead of having books, we would start to introduce tablets and iPads into class. Before that, it was computers. Okay, fair enough, with their monitor and their keyboard. You know, and I used to give classes, I used to give methodology courses to teachers, to Spanish teachers. And it'd be standing there and it'd be sort of always like the backs of computer displays facing me, and there'd be faces behind them, and apparently following what I was talking about or discussing. And you'd go around the back and they're reading the local newspaper or looking at the lottery results from the day before or checking up on their car registration or whatever it is, you know, when they're meant to be attending class. So, you know, those were teachers. Those weren't kind of kids. And what has happened over the years, the implantation of IT and computer technology into the classroom, the result has been that students, yes, they're able to be more independent and more autonomous in their learning, but they also become much more easily distracted. And particularly when it's a touch screen, there's a massive problem. When they lose the screen they're on, they've touched something, they lose the screen, they don't know how to get back, and basically breaks down their concentration. So the idea about using technology in classrooms is going back now to it being teacher-centered. Okay, so it means, which basically means a projector, you know, and their computer and a smart board. Okay, so we don't want you using your phone. A lot of people say to me, well, I do need it because I need to look up a word in Spanish. And so you don't need to, because you should only ever be using English in the classroom, not Spanish at all. The Spanish is useful to you to understand what the kids are saying to you, and you can tell if the children understand what you're saying. But you don't need to use Spanish in class. So even basic stuff like sit down, stand up, wait, be quiet, classroom instructional language is really, really useful, because that's something which is reinforcing the English and the use of English. Okay, that's listening skills. So don't ever use your phone in class. I could probably don't ever use your Spanish in class either. Okay. Okay, there we go. Wow, these are different things we could be doing in class, aren't they? What do you think? What do you think? Different ways, different educational things, different things we could be doing in class together, learning, studying. I wonder what they show us. What do some of these symbols show us? And what do they tell us about learning? Yeah. For example, what about, can you see this one down here? The guy sitting around the table watching a screen. Let me ask you, Nav, what's going on down there?
Is it like visual learning? Maybe watching a video together as a group or something along those lines?
Well, you can see somebody there, can't you? On the screen. Who do you think that is?
I mean, if it's COVID times, I'd say the teacher, but it wouldn't make sense that they were together.
Absolutely. So it could be the teacher. All right, it could be the teacher. Is that a model that we'd want to be using, do you think?
Not if we were there in person. Maybe instead of the teacher being on there, we could show the kids a video in English. Or let's say I want to teach them about Australia, I can find a short video to show them some things.
Okay, so we might want to use the video there, but again, it's a little bit, looks like a little bit passive, isn't it? Once you
Yeah.
put the screen on, you're not really engaging very much. But so that's true. Okay, we don't think, well, one day I'm not going to class. I'll give the class from my bedroom because I'm, not feeling very well. I don't think so. Okay, so I don't think so. Okay, what else are we doing? What about this person down there? That person down there. What are they doing? Mel, are you there?
Yes,
Okay, what can you
I
see
think
there?
it's a person with like balls. I don't know the English word, but I know the German word for what the person is doing.
Okay, English word is juggling.
Juggling,
Juggling.
yes. And I think it's also not a good idea to do in class.
Why not?
Well, it seems like the person is not teaching the kids something, instead is more playing around or doing other stuff.
Uh-huh. Okay, but hold on a minute. What kind of, we have to think then, what kind of English skills could we learn from juggling? Okay, what kind of English now? What we could do is say, if we gave the children a big basket with different colored balls, and we gave them simple instructions. And the first instruction is everybody go and pick up a yellow ball. They go over, they pick it up, they go back to their desk. They all realize they've got a yellow ball. And wow, they've achieved something in English. The second part is everybody go and pick up a green ball. Okay. And they do it and they achieve it and they're all back in their chairs. That's fantastic. Now, let's say if you were born in the months of January, now listen, if you were born in the months of January, March, May, July, September, or November, go to the basket and pick up a red ball. But if you were born in the months of February, April, etc., go over to the basket and pick up a brown ball. Yep. You're going over, you're giving instructions. Wow, now they're not only practicing the colors, they're practicing the months as well, the months of the year. When is my birthday? Okay. Okay, so everybody's back. They've got 3 balls. Now, if you've got a brown ball, go and swap it with somebody who's got a blue ball. So basically what we're doing is instructions. And the kids are going to be wondering, why have I got these balls? And actually, the end of our activity is that this is only, of course, if you know how to juggle, okay, that you would teach them, first of all, how to juggle with one ball, and they have some fun. All right, we're talking about little kids, primary school kids, all right? Throw the ball up 5 times and catch it. Can you do that? Yeah? Okay, once we've all done. Now, use 2 balls. Throw them up in the air 5 times. Can you catch them? All right, good. Now, I'm going to show you how to juggle with 2 balls. Now, if this is a skill that you've got a very rich, very colorful class, which is full of music, full of movement, okay? And see how far they get. So you could, of course, you could be doing juggling or line dancing or singing, okay? Or playing Twister or doing simple games. So we'd definitely encourage you to bring those skills into class. Okay, what about this one then? Here we go. What about this one? Here we are. The first one. The first one there, the first cube. What can you see there, Simon?
Might be like a group project, working in a group together, figuring something out.
Mm-hmm. And it's not a massive group, it's a small group. It's around the table, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very different to this one, isn't it? Where you got one guy at the, explaining it's something. No, they're working together. We're working together in small groups. Is that valid? Is that a good idea?
I would say so, yes.
Absolutely. It's a very, very good idea. Okay. A very, very good. That's what you want to do. You want to be with the small groups. That's what we tell the students, we tell the classes, so the schools, we say, don't put our volunteers in front of a big group of 20, 25 people. Okay. Take 5 people, 4 people out of the class and sit with the volunteer to practice, please. Okay. So always looking at, even if you do find that you yourself have been assigned a large group, let's say of 12 students or 20 students, it's much easier if you put them into small groups. If you put them into groups of 3 or groups of 4, then you are dealing with 3 or 4 units, okay? You're not dealing with 12 individuals. And spatially, you can ask them to sit at different tables. That's good. What's going on here? let's say, or any of these two? What do you think's going on there? The people seem to be traveling or something like that. Philomela?
I can see two people traveling. They all both have a suitcase, and one is jumping from one continent to another.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would that fit into our teaching model at all?
Mm, I don't really see teaching in these two pictures, but maybe it's like our experience. So maybe you can teach the kids about the traveling experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And the children would be delighted and excited to know your experiences of your travels, of where you've been. Of course, they'd be delighted to know about this. And the other thing, of course, is some of the schools might organize local excursions or journeys, which they would like you to go on. Yeah. It might be to the zoo or to a museum. That's a lot of fun. Others might take their kids off to do a kind of week-long camp. And if you're available, then go. If they ever say to you, you have to pay, then say, no, no, don't. All right. That's just going to out of the question. You should never have to pay for any of these things. But one of our schools did a week-long school journey to England, okay? And they took their German volunteer with them this year, and she had a fantastic time. It was great. It was really, really nice. Okay, so she went as one of the teachers, and they paid for her to go for a week as well. Okay. What else could we be doing? I wonder what's this one? What's this one here? This little one down there. Can you see that, Nelly?
Yeah, it's two people who each have a puzzle piece, and maybe you can use that in school when, for example, one of the kids has a puzzle with a picture of an animal, and the other one has a puzzle with a name on it, and then they have to find each other.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Excellent. Wow, that's a fantastic activity as well, isn't it? Okay, so that's a brilliant activity. But yeah, definitely matching things, which is a very basic activity for children. But it can be at different levels. It could be matching pictures, or it could be matching sentences at a higher level of English. You might be a very, very common activity for learning English might be you have the beginning of a sentence and the end of a sentence. Okay, so it could be something like if you were practicing the conditionals. Okay, so if it was raining, I would take my umbrella. Okay, or if it rained, I would take my umbrella. Okay, so you might have some cards which says if it rained, and on the second card, I would take my umbrella. And so somebody in the group has got the first card, the first part of the sentence. Somebody in the group has got the second part of the sentence. But they're going around asking everybody, well, what's on your card? You know, and they're trying to match them up. So that's, yeah, very, very good. It could be other kind of problem solving as well. Okay. Which is also quite interesting, problem solving, which might be very similar to this one here as well. So problem solving, if you were to look this up, you would see there are things like the NASA game, or there'd be the NASA game, or there'd be things like the survival game, which is, imagine you are on a desert island. And you are allowed to take 10 things with you. Okay? 10 things. So in small groups, you have the kids together, to plan out their list of 10 things. which they would take, their problem solving. And then you would find out, well, which are the 10 most popular things from the group? And then would you put them in order? Would you put those in a list? What's really the most important thing? This is discussing, it's problem solving, looking for solutions. And it does need then a certain amount of reasoning skills, of course. Okay. So the desert island game, that's a really good one. Always works, always works. Okay. Right. And again, this second one about coming up with ideas or solutions, that's also good. Okay. So a lot of different things. It's not just about learning languages, but it's also about being, you know, how you're presenting material and how you're presenting stuff. Okay, here's a thing I was gonna say to you, which of these pictures is absolutely no, which is the one we don't like, which is the absolute worst possible example, please.
Top middle.
Top middle, this fellow, this person up here. There we go. Why?
Because like if 70% of communication is non-verbal, crossed arms signals like being closed off, being defensive, it's not really inviting. So the kids will be less receptive and like your message won't spread as well.
Okay, you're going to have to practice this. This is quite right. The one thing you don't want to do in a classroom, please, I'm imagining if we were all here together, standing in a circle, and we were talking about this, I know most of you would be crossing your arms, okay? Because you're either thinking about something else you'd rather be doing, or because you're impatient, or because you don't feel you're really in control of this situation. So you are closing yourself off, you're being defensive, and you're being self-protective. Of course, this happens. And when we have face-to-face orientation, I will tell you this again, okay? Now, please don't, when people are explaining things to you at school, other teachers, when you're in the classroom, don't cross your arms, okay? Please. It really shows that you're feeling tense. It feels that you're being defensive. If you're being defensive, you might not be absorbing all the information which is being transmitted to you. Okay, these situations, you know, I bet you've got a lot better ideas than I have, but you need to loosen up your shoulders and, you know, start to feel a bit of energy and let the ideas flow. Okay, be receptive, be receptive. Okay, but you know, the idea, and this is a very difficult thing for you to do, that you are taken into a classroom, the teacher is giving their lesson or explaining things, you are wondering, at what point do I intervene? What is my role here? How do I participate? Okay. And what you do is, what I will stand here on the side with my arms crossed, waiting to be told. Don't do it. You don't want to stand on the side. You don't want to be a wall decoration, okay? You either want to be directly involved in explaining what's going on. Second option, and the second option, really important, is you go down and you sit with the kids, okay? Make yourself part of the group. Go and sit with the kids. Bring yourself down to their level, okay? Bring yourself down to their level. Be here. Be one of these. Sit with the kids at the same level. Sit down. Don't stand up. You sit down with them. Okay? They will be terribly excited to have you near, that you have chosen to sit with their group. Okay? They will be more attentive. They will be engaged with the lesson as well. or move from one group into the next group. And I'm going to tell you, if you are at one of the boarding schools, okay, where you're living at the school, this is particularly important. This is not only with small children, this is with secondary children as well, okay? And be there. And when they are in a classroom, which might be quite a traditional class or lesson, if you see somebody's having difficulties, go and sit with them. And how can I help you? Do you understand? Okay? So really engage with them, because this is a big difference that you can make. Obviously, hands on hips, you're doing like this. Okay, wow. You know, we hope there's not going to be that kind of aggressiveness that you're ready to control. Okay, ready and in control. Really think about body language, please. All right, Simon's coming in. Right, here's some basic things which you already know. Spanish schools, okay, Spanish schools, 17 different autonomous regions, 17 different curriculum, 17 different school calendars, 4 different co-official languages, which means in Galicia, in the Basque country, in Catalonia, and in Valencia. You have, and in Baleares, I'm sorry, let's add that to in the islands. They have, some of the teaching is done in Valenciano or in Basque or in Catalan. Okay. Well, it's interesting. I mean, you're there to study Spanish and to learn Spanish, which is absolutely great. You will also hear some Valenciano if you're in the Valencia area. You know, don't worry about it. You know, just think, well, it's something else I'm going to learn. You don't have to start speaking Valenciano, but it's so similar to Spanish that you'll just recognize words, and the listening practice is still really good. Okay, a lot of the time the Valenciano or Catalan language is used particularly to discuss cultural or social events, which don't necessarily have a very good translation into Castilian Spanish, and less so into English, you know, so typical foods or typical celebrations. Now, the thing is, the main thing which you have to be careful about is, because of your school year, if you're in Castile and Leon, or if you're in Valencia, what you'll find is the school year is slightly different. So the Easter holidays might be different in Castilla and Leon in the north of Spain than the school holidays in Valencia, in the Valencia region, which means that before you make any plans to travel at Easter or at Christmas or whenever it is, please check with the school. Please check with the school, okay, to see exactly what their calendar is. Another thing about the school year is that you find, like, let's say, for example, look at May. If we look at May here, okay, we have this great thing in Spain, which is called a bridge. Anybody know how to say bridge in Spanish?
Puente?
Puente. All right, thank you. Puente. And when we're talking about the calendar, it works like this. The puente, if you have a look here and it says, well, if the 1st of May is a holiday, well, let's make the 2nd of May a holiday as well. So it's a bridge. It means you get the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. You've got all 4 days will be a holiday. So instead of having to, you know, have a day off and then go back to work, it means the same thing happens in October. You see, the 1st of November is a holiday. And so they give you the 31st of October a holiday too. So you get an extra day. Now, you as volunteers, because, you know, strictly you don't have to be at school every day, but if you come down to something like December, which is a very difficult month, okay, This is a very difficult, it's a very easy month, because actually the 6th and the 8th are holidays, and so they're giving you the 9th as well. So that's, that's a pretty good kind of puente. It's like 5-day puente. If you said, well, actually, it's 4 days, could I take the 5th off as well, the day before, because I'd like to go to Paris or Rome or Seville or some other place? They're probably going to say, yes, don't worry, you'll be fine. Okay? And so the schools will be flexible with you in regards of this. They're giving you an extra day off before, not afterwards. Okay. Okay, so yeah, they're pretty good. You say, if look, there's a couple of hours, I won't do them this Thursday. If you give me the day off, I'll make them up. I'll give extra the following week. They're normally quite good about this as well. Okay, but for example, if you go away on the weekend, they get a little bit upset if you say, well, I've been away this weekend, I won't come in on Monday. That's not something they're very receptive to. Okay. Now, the levels of education in schools, which are going to be 0 to 6 years old, which are nursery and infantile. Okay. Some schools are nursery, infantile, and primary as well, altogether. So primary is then 6 to 11 years of age. And after that, we've got secondary or instituto, which is 11 to 18 years of age. I can tell you that most of your schools will have a full provision, probably from 2 or 3 up to the age of 16. So most of your schools go through the whole thing. All right, we have very few primary schools this year for placement. Those would actually be after from January on. Okay. So they will ask you and they will assign you to the class groups. The boarding schools, if you're going to a school where the kids live there, they stay there, and those are secondary schools upwards. Okay. You must tell people, where you feel where you feel most comfortable. And normally, look, if you're 18, most schools would not allow you to be in the university access groups, which are 16, 17 years of age. They would be worried about you forming friendships with students from the school. Okay, so normally that's just an aside, that your relationship with students must have a certain amount of distance between you. Okay, you can definitely become friends with their families, of course, but not normally plan to go out or do things with students at the school. Again, with the exception of those schools where we have vocational training, where we have students up to the age of 30. But very few of your schools have that. And they're normally different timetables, even in different buildings. Okay. And the other thing to think about in Spain is that we have 3 kinds of schools. We have the public, which are state-owned and run. There's no faith-based affiliation. There's no religion present at all. There might not even be any religious teaching. And if there is religious teaching, if that is one of the subjects, then all students would have the alternative to do something else during that time. Okay? There are normally no uniforms, and the timetable is very limited. Okay? So nothing goes on after the school hours. The next group are called the concertados, which are called charter schools. So these tend to be independent schools which are run traditionally by religious organizations. So it would be called St. Mary or San Francesco, Nuestra Señora, Our Lady of this, or Santa Ana, things like this. Normally these are based on, they would have had religious affiliation in the past. However, they are now funded and financed by the government. So they are open to everybody. However, they probably have religious education and religious images at the school. And then finally, we have the private centres. And I don't think anybody's going to a private centre this year. They normally start in January too. And those tend to be the fee-paying schools, which are quite expensive and quite strict Catholic environments. Okay, all Catholic, because that's the great majority religion here in Spain. Okay, but all of you, I believe, are going to concertados. Yep, I think all of you. Yeah, and these are just some ideas. So we might have a concertado, San Jose, 1,200 students, lovely place. Then we got in the Basque Country at Ikastola, where the teaching is done in the Basque language. We don't have any of those. Then we have Tabara, which is a rural school. We've only got 20 students, primary level. Okay, this is because the government in Spain is worried about depopulation. Depopulation in rural areas, which is inland Spain. So what do? They say that any school which has a minimum of 15 students, 15, we will continue funding to make sure that it stays open. So it's a really, really nice atmosphere for learning. Okay. They have a certain amount of freedom. They choose the Montessori method, which includes games, discovery, children experimenting for themselves. Really interesting. Then we got our San Francesco, again, concertado, 400 people, faith-based, lovely school, fantastic school. Cumbres, which is one of our private schools, high expectations, high discipline, and so on, okay? Ciudad de los Niños, yeah, a residential area. It's a state primary school. So you'll find out by the end of next week, okay? Right. Find out by the end of next week, because some of the schools are just sorting out accommodation, just sorting out families and stuff like this. Okay. So English and German, okay, from primary up. Okay, this is how languages are used in Spanish schools. So whether it's English or German or French or any other kind of activity or any other language, the regular curriculum says that kids have between 2 and 4 hours foreign language per week. The teachers are normally non-native. It is normally based on a book with exercises and grammar and spelling, and the teachers have to get through this book during the school year. Okay, so it's based on levels, which is A1 to C2. A1, which is according to the European framework of language learning, is a beginner's level, up to C2, which is a very proficient, almost native speaker user level. So when the teachers say to you, oh, this group is, oh, there's a B, all right. So when the teachers say, well, it's a B2 class, you know, it's quite a good level. Or it's an A2 class. No, it's quite a low level, okay? The other model for using languages in schools is what we call CLIL, or bilingual education. And this means that the foreign language is present in other subjects. It might be history, art, physical education, chemistry, science, geography. And these subjects are being taught in English, but they're not being taught by specialist language teachers. They're being taught by subject teachers. And sometimes their English level is not very good at all. And that is where they might ask you for specific input, okay? Which can be fun and it can be a challenge for you. Okay, so the English or the foreign language is integrated into the subject. Okay, and there's a lot of opposition from parents. This model's been around about 20 years or so, and parents don't like it very much because parents say, how can we help our children do their homework if the homework is not in a language that we understand at home? Okay, so this is something which has been a little bit difficult. This is because children in Spain have a lot of homework, and the parents tend to do it with the kids. All right, and so wow, if the mum or dad don't understand what's being said because the textbook is in English or the instructions are in English, then obviously they're unable to help, and they feel that their children are not being given a fair crack of the whip. Okay, they're not being treated fairly, having to do it in English. Anyway, that exists. Okay, things you can be doing at school, okay, is not giving a lesson about German or English, and I'm going to tell you about the future or the past or the conditional. No, things you need to do are going to be creative. Things are going to be enjoyable for the kids. Everything you do is going to interest and motivate the kids. I know this. So think about the different levels, okay? The different levels, starting from kindergarten, nursery, primary, you know, the kids are 7, 8 years of age, and then going right all the way up to 16, 17. What are you going to be doing? Okay, with the little kids, storytelling, of course. You know, look for a storybook. How is there room on the broom? How much do I love you? The whale and the snail. Okay, nursery rhymes. Dr. Seuss. Okay, the Mr. books. Things with pictures. You can show the students. You can read to them. They can dramatize. You can ask them to do the actions. It was a hot day. I was very thirsty. Yeah, get the kids to do the actions with you. Repeat. Let them repeat. Okay? It's not about getting to the end of the story or telling a long storybook. It's a picture book. Okay? It's a very, 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 very what's the word? Repeating, getting the kids to repeat, making sure they've understood, they're having fun, they're engaging with you in the storybook. Okay? Giving instructions. They're giving instructions, like we said before. Go and get a Red Bull. Let's play Simple Simon. Okay? Put your hand in the air. Put your other hand in the air. Stand up. Jump. Okay? And different variations on that. Then we go on to speaking practice. We'll look at that in a moment. The very intensive speaking practice with a small group. This is what you want to be doing. I'll show you in a minute. We saw it a couple of weeks ago. Presentations. Presentations. You give a presentation about yourself, your home, your country, the animals in your country, the food, the music, the weather, natural things, the geography of your country, based on photos, not based on text. Okay? You present it. Send the kids home. Do a presentation at home, please. Okay? If you've got computers, if you've got in a computer lab and they're using, do the presentation now. I want you to include a mountain, a river, a city, and something on the coast. Okay? And the kids have to get together and think about, in their country, their community, wherever it is, these 4 things. Giving them things to identify, giving them things where you are specifying what you expect from them is much easier than just leaving it up to them. Okay. Extracurricular activities. Do you dance? Do you sing? Are you part of a choir? Do you coach any kind of sport? Can you get involved? Yeah. Offer your time. exam preparation. Exam preparation. Some of the schools will be preparing their kids to do external English exams. They will give you material and they will say, this is what we want you to do during the language classes. It might be the Goethe Institute. If it's German, it might be Cambridge University exams if it's in English. Okay, they will give you the materials and they will tell you exactly what to do. And it's basically this. Okay, so they are basically controlled dialogues where the student only sees a photograph. Okay, and you will ask very basic questions. So imagine we've got a group of 5 students. Here's the photograph. Can you see it? Yes, I can. Okay, good. And let's do some really basic stuff. Yep. What color is the sea? Can you see a lighthouse? And they will point to the lighthouse. Where is this? Now, where is this demands a little bit more language input from the students because they have to not only recognize the word, they have to find the word in here. Okay, and it is enough for one of them to know this is the beach. Okay, and then once one has used the word, the rest of them can repeat it. Okay, so you can ask the first one, yep, where is this? Oh, it's the beach. Okay, and ask the second child, where is this? This is the beach. And the third child might say, I'm going to say something different. This is the sea. Okay, brilliant, lovely, well done. Okay, this is sand. Okay, that's good. And just explain. The beach is next to the sea. The sand is on the beach. Okay, you're being completely coherent with them. Okay, now you've got a more complex question, which is, do you like the beach? They have to give you an opinion because you're probably going to ask them, why do you like the beach? Okay, after that. And this is how conversation develops from very, very controlled practice with a limited number of possible answers, like what color is the sea, to more complex things like what can you do here? Okay. And finally, if we want them to interact, we're going to ask them, say, now take a piece of paper, listen to me. I want you to draw a beach. Okay, some kids can be really fussy when they want to draw something and it has to be absolutely exact. Okay, otherwise they get very frustrated. Give them time. Now, on your beach, I want you to draw your family. And draw some children playing some games, playing football. Now draw a boat. And next to the boat, I want you to draw a dolphin. Okay? Now that whole activity is going to take you between 20 and 30 minutes, working through this with one small group of primary school children. And this is going to be 20 or 30 minutes very, very well used. Okay? If we were going to use the same picture with secondary school students, would be the questions would be, it'd be the same picture. You don't need any other material other than a picture. Okay, but you're asking more kind of complex questions. You're asking and you're finishing. Describe what you can see. You'd expect the secondary school students to know the word for beach, for water, for sand. They might not know lighthouse. They can ask you. You can tell them. For stone, you can tell them it's a starfish. And then we got, what kind of holidays do you like? Now, this needs time for the student to go back and prepare an answer in their mind, okay? All right then, and what's your dream holiday? Okay, get together, 2 of you together and talk about your dream holiday. And now you're each going to make a little presentation. So same material, just more complex delivery. The task is more complex. But again, 20, 30 minutes, fantastic. So you don't need to be teaching anything. You're practicing. Okay? Wow, so many other different things you can talk about here. Okay, let's get on. Actually, one of the things we want you to be doing is to do some presentations. This is before you come. Before you come, these are presentations. For example, this one was about presentations. You and your world. The best way to do presentations is to decide what you're going to do them about. Your presentations should be PowerPoint or similar, any other kind of presentation software. You should bring them on a physical memory stick, okay, not only on the cloud, because, you know, we have something called like Murphy's Law, which says, you know, the day that you need to stream something in a classroom is the day there's no internet connection. Okay, the day you need to download something from Dropbox or wherever you keep your stuff is when there's no internet connection. So always have a physical copy and a memory stick you can use. But presentations which were about you and your world, your country, music and sounds of your country, animals from your country, languages from your country, you, your family, your community, your school, anything that you feel comfortable doing. Okay, this is a basic presentation from one of our ex-volunteers, which was about animals in Australia. A dingo, a Tasmanian devil, a kookaburra, okay, an emu, okay, I don't know what that is. Some questions at the end, okay? So very, very simple presentation is given, you know, 5 photographs, 5 different animals, telling them a few things about each animal, and at the end, you have a quiz. Okay? That's it. You're done. However, you're going to do it slowly and making sure that the children have understood for each slide. When you say this is a dingo and you show them the photograph, what is it? It's a dingo. They're going to love saying dingo. It's a funny sounding word. Okay? All the words in Australia for animals, like the kangaroo and the emu, the kids love saying those words. So let them enjoy saying it. Okay? And then end with a little quiz for them. Okay, so you want to be doing those, and you want to start doing those. You want to start doing those presentations now. Okay, nice format, big photographs, very little text, please. Everything that you feel comfortable about including in there. So I say, yeah, talk about your family. Well, if you don't want to talk about your family, that's fine. You can talk about your friend, your brother, a sister, somebody in your community. Okay, but to have a bit of personal interest. Okay, so activities, games that you can include in class. Simple Simon, put your hand in the air. Okay, stand on one leg, jump. So very, very simple games. Buzz, which is a numbers game. Musical chairs, hangman, a quiz, crosswords, Pictionary, categories. Okay? Don't take in a board game, please. Don't take in a board game. It's not a good idea. Adapt a board game to the class. Okay, so you might have to write questions on big cards and stick them up around the room. An escape room, okay? But don't expect to be in class with a board game with little pieces, which, you know, and playing with a dice, you know, the children roll the dice and it goes to the other end of the room. Where's the dice? Everything breaks down, complete chaos, okay? So adapt things. There are also other ideas, things you could be doing in class. We will talk about these again, and I think we will talk about these at the end of, at the beginning of September. So it's really important, okay? But here's some advice for you before we finish. We will finish in 8 minutes max, okay? Plan your activities, speak to the teachers, research what you need to do, what equipment you need. Have you got it? Are you taking in your own laptop? Work with groups. That means group the kids together. You've got 12 kids, put them in 4 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 4. Remember, 2, 4, 8, always good numbers, okay? If you can play one group against another, you can have a game, a pub quiz, right? Check the material and the equipment. That's so important. We've got a course starting next week. I know the teachers working that course have not checked material at all. And today's Thursday. Okay, they should have checked it way back. Keep short activities. Keep your activities short. It is much better to have one activity which lasts 15 minutes, okay, than a really long activity, because children lose interest. Their attention span is limited, okay? So have one good activity which lasts 15, maximum 20 minutes. And if they enjoy it, you can do it again next time. Prepare your voice, your speaking voice, all right? Which is how you're given a presentation. How do you keep order? Spanish children are very boisterous, normally really good meaning, well-meaning, but they're boisterous and they're loud, all right? Be prepared for this. And what happens if you have problems? Okay, there's a limit. And the limit is when, I think the limit would be if you feel that you can't take responsibility for a particular child in a classroom situation, you tell the tutor and ask for that child not to come in, okay, for the rest of the lesson. That child's family will be furious with them, okay, and have plan B, okay, and have a plan B. Have plan B, which means have a game or something you know they're going to like as a backup, okay, as a backup, okay. There we go. Well, I don't know what this is really, but as we go in class, look at that model, sitting around a table, sitting around a table. You don't have to be this person, except when you're doing your presentation. You don't have to be this person who's lecturing and telling them, explaining some abstract figures, or with a microphone, okay? We want you to be this person here, or this person down here. Everybody's practicing, everybody's speaking, okay? Look at that. And again, a lot of the different things you can be doing in class, which does include things like playing, acting, drawing, competitions to see who's the fastest, who's the best, again, in groups, don't have individual champions, music, discovery. Well, you could even use books. Imagine that. Nobody wants books. Okay, but this is something I'm going to just suggest. You absolutely, this is not part of our program, not part of our program. But if you're interested in this and you don't have teaching experience, I have suggested to people in the past that when they're here or before they come, if you want to use your summer well, the TEFLacademy.com is an online training course. Okay, I'm going to just put this in the chat box. Online training course at 2 different levels, level 3 or level 5. This is according to the UK and European system of vocational training. It's about 4 weeks minimum of study, and it will really give you a very, very good insight into teaching English. It will also give you a lot of resources into teaching English, and if you want to work on maybe one of the immersion camps or get a part-time job teaching English whilst you're here, this will be an absolute and a fantastic benefit, because this is a teaching course which is accepted in many, many English academies, private English academies in Spain and around the world, okay? So if you're thinking in the future of traveling more and how you might travel and fund that travel by teaching, I would really recommend it. Level 5 course is great. I think it's more expensive. It's about 200 euros. I looked over this course. I helped develop this course. I thought it was fantastic. And a number of our volunteers have done it. The level 3 course is cheaper. It's quicker. It's also very, very good. So anyway, have a look. Go on there if you want to make good use of your summer. Okay. And there's some of our teachers. Okay. There's Jenny, who is actually at, I'm going to just share the sound. Jenny, who is actually at one of our rural schools, and I've had a fantastic time. And this was Regan, who is also, you can see, look, she's given a presentation about animals in Australia, which kids absolutely love. Really? There's like spiders that big? Really? Yeah, and she's explaining. And really, every time you go to the bathroom, you have to lift up the toilet seat and make sure there's no snake? Are you kidding me? So, you know, they love hearing these stories. Let's just see what Jenny had to say about her time in the rural, very remote school.
I'm from New Zealand and I'm living in Biavlino in Lafiana, and I'm really enjoying it. It's beautiful, there's snow, it's warm, and yeah, it's really good. My family's amazing.
Okay, she was not near any other volunteers. She had a fantastic time, Jenny from New Zealand. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few things to think about. I'm going to put you can copy this. There's a bit of a questionnaire for you. I like just to see your answers and see what you're thinking. You know, what's the difference between working with primary or secondary age kids? What can you do in class? How does a teacher behave? What shouldn't you do? Do you prefer large or small groups? What are you worried about? Going into a classroom for the first time is really, really stressful. All right? And because it's stressful for you, it's stressful for me, it's stressful for everybody. So don't worry about it. Everybody has to do it the first time. Okay? But the kids will love you and you will love the kids. Okay? So that's what we got to say about schools. Okay, very quickly, I'm going to stop the recording now.